Hello, everybody, and welcome again to the Geek Authority Show, the show where I get to talk to lots of people behind the scenes, in front of the camera, actors, directors, writers, producers, cosplayers, and today's special guest actually produces a podcast, particularly themed for Batman, for all you Batman fans out here, and it's Bill from the Batman Pod, correct? No,
The Bat Pod.
Bat Pod, the Bat Pod. Okay, sorry about that. So tell us about that, because I first heard about it when I found you on Twitter or Instagram, one of the two.
It's Twitter.
Twitter.
So
Tell us how did it start?
Okay, well, I do a Batman podcast called the Bat Pod, and if it started actually me listening to podcasts early on, like around 2005, 2006. And it was just, a group of people talking about comics. And I never had that really experience where you could talk to like friends in the comic shop. So basically we do is just have a conversation about stuff we enjoy in the comic shop, but we record the audio. But I started one back in 2008 that went for a couple episodes that was just me solo. And I stopped. I had some critics weren't too pleasant. So
Critics of what? Critics of the show?
Yeah. Well, I think I had a review that said it was awful or something like that. And it was awful compared to what we have now.
Okay.
And I had a couple versions of the Bad Pod, but the original Bad Pod started in 2011, and it was me and a friend of mine, and we did that through DC revamped their comic universe.
Okay.
Back then, and they called it the New 52. Batman was younger, Superman was younger, Green Lantern was younger, and they started over at number 1. They renumbered their books at number 1, so whatever number they were on in the hundreds, they started over. And that's when my podcast started, and we talked about the comic books that were released for DC that were Batman-oriented. And then it kind of went away, and most recently in 2017, I brought it back with a different host because I missed it. I missed podcasting. And
so is it just you? Is there someone else?
No, I have a co-host named Jay, and we do it together. It's a very structured podcast. It's basically the Batman comics, the DC, the detective comics that are released each month, sometimes twice a month. We talk about each book. It's not a review podcast. We don't review them. We just have a discussion about the storylines and that sort of thing about the books.
You talk about the artwork?
We talk about the artwork. We talk about the storylines. And
so are these hardcover versions, not the paper?
They're the floppies that come out once or twice a month.
Okay, very cool. I got to ask this. I'm sure everyone's thinking about it. What made Batman your favorite superhero? I'm assuming.
Well, it started back when I was younger, and they had the TV show Super Friends that was on Saturday morning. And I love that show. I love seeing Batman. And Batman always resonated with me, his parents dying and him fighting and he didn't have superpowers. Didn't have these powers he was gifted by the gods or had a ring that you had powers. He was just a regular man. And for some reason, I gravitated toward that.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, my personal one is of the DC world is Superman. But like Superman, are there different? I don't want to say versions. Are there different takes on the Superman, the Batman character, as far as the comics go?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because you started out
Beyond the Dark Knight series.
Beyond the Dark. Well, when Batman started out, he was, he used a gun, and now he has a code about killing and that sort of thing. So he did use a gun at one point, and this was back in the way back when Batman was starting out. But there's been different versions. There's back in the early 70s, Denny O'Neil kind of changed Batman to what we know today. But yeah, there's been different versions, and there's these books called Elseworld. They used to be called Elseworld, which is different versions of. There's a vampire Batman. There's all kinds
Really?
of different. Yes.
Wow. I know. There's been a lot of Robins. In fact, I can't keep track of the Robins in terms of their characterizations and which Robin went with what Batman. But I don't really remember any kind of, major like the Robin character had costume changes and the imagery was different. But Batman's pretty much stayed the same with the cowl and cape at the very least.
Yeah, he changed. He did have a yellow oval bat signal on his chest for a little while, and that lasted until I believe, I don't have it off the top of my head, around 2000 or something like that, or close. And then he went to the old school, just the black bat on his chest.
Right, and I just punched up the graphic here, and you said, tell us about that issue right there.
Comics is the first appearance of Batman by Bob Kane and Bill Finger. Worth a lot of money.
You mean an original copy? I've seen reprints.
Yeah. I got a reprint of it, but the original copy, in mint condition, is worth a lot. But yeah, that's where it all started.
Yep. This is your podcast, I guess, logo graphic.
That was one of my original logos that we made. That's actually a scan from a figure.
Oh, really? Like a 3D maquette?
Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, right behind me.
Yes, that's my current logo.
The Bat Pod. I'm going to say it 10 times till I get it right.
Yes.
Now, how often do you do these podcasts? Are they weekly, monthly, quarterly?
We usually record about every 2 weeks.
Is that when the issues come out?
The issues right now, they're bi-weekly. So whenever they come out, we usually just do them every 2 weeks. And we usually do the 2 new issues plus an older issue. The one thing that we do also, we have some other segments. We have a topic of the week where we talk about different things. Like, let's just say this past week was our top 3 live-action Batman actors. And then we discussed who the top 3 was, who our favorite Robins was, what our favorite gadgets are.
Ooh, cool. I've got some pictures too. I want to go over with you as well and get some feedback on the media that is Batman, because he's been around a long time and many people have played him. There's been many versions of him, as well as the comics. Have you ever had a show yet on that original #1 issue?
We have not done the original #1 issue.
That would be cool. I want to tune into that one. Because, like you said, it started it all, and the Batman's history has changed quite a bit. I mean, his #1 villain obviously followed him through time as well, the Joker. And he has changed in so many versions and ways as time gone on.
Absolutely. Joker started out sort of like the Joker we know, the psychotic villain killer. And then they kind of changed him into this jokester. And the Comics Code Authority that regulated comics, they kind of changed him into this jokester, funny guy. He does jokes. And then in the 70s, Denny O'Neil again recreated the Joker into this killer. And I guess the best thing about the Joker that I like is, his whole idea of himself isn't about, a certain particular crime. He does stuff to play this game with Batman. It's all about the game for him. It's all about the game between him and Batman.
Okay. What's your reaction to the Mark Hamill, the animated series where I mean, I used to watch that. Did you? What about his
Yes.
Joker?
Yes, awesome. Awesome. Mark Hamill was the best Joker, the best animated Joker, I'll say, because he hasn't. That would actually be interesting if he did play a live action Joker, because I remember he played the Trickster on The Flash in an
The original
episode.
series in the '80s. Yeah.
Yes,
Didn't he come back though, for in the new series or no?
back. He came back in the new series for the same Trickster. So yeah, the animated series, that's a lot of where a lot of people started out their fandom. Especially some of the younger generation. I was already in my 20s when that came out, and
Okay.
I actually missed most of that when it was coming out because I had a job and that sort of thing. But going back and watching it afterwards, it's like there's so many things that were brought from, the animated series into the comics and that sort of thing.
Very
So
cool.
yeah.
One thing I didn't ask is I'm here in the Los Angeles metropolis area. Where are you? Where's your podcast broadcast from?
I broadcast from Inwood, West Virginia.
West Virginia.
About an hour and a half from Washington, D.C., Baltimore. We're right on the corner of Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania.
Right.
Like
And I think you said your podcast was recorded, right? Or do you do it live?
yes, I record the podcast, and it's highly edited. It's highly produced. Just recently, as this week, we started to do a live stream of the podcast. So we will live stream it, and I will edit the audio and release the audio as the actual podcast. But I'm going to have the unedited version live stream up on YouTube.
Okay. I think I understand. So people can hear you record it live, and can they
See it.
Right.
See us. Yeah, they can see us. They can see me and my partner Jay, and they can see, the unedited version of us talking, basically.
Okay. And that's your Bet Pod, a Batman comic book podcast.
Now we released the audio that's available on iTunes. It's available on Stitcher. It's available on
Now that's free. That's free, right? If you have those services, right?
Absolutely, it's all free.
And all you have to do is search the Bat Pod and then find you.
Or hopefully Batman, and it'll show up.
Okay. Cool. Okay, I have a series of slides here for you. I just wanted to maybe run some of these by you, and you can maybe comment on. You're the comic book expert, so tell us a little bit about. There's the Joker, and the Riddler, and Catwoman, and Penguin. Who's the other one? Is that Harlequin?
Harley Quinn.
Okay.
That was technically when she came out. She was the Joker's girlfriend.
Okay.
And this is a pretty significant issue. This issue came out a few months ago. I'm thinking February, March area, and it has a brand new character in it. And this character is called Punchline. And it's the Joker's new sidekick, female sidekick. Because Harley Quinn is sort of like an anti-hero villain sort of thing. She kind of flips back and forth. But the first appearance of this character was in Batman number 89. So right now they're up to Batman number 95 that was just released last week.
Okay. I don't think I have a picture of that. Roy Thomas. This looks like 1939 to 1945. The Wary Years. What are the Wary Years?
War years.
Oh, does that say War?
Yes.
Okay. It's tiny on my screen. Okay.
That's that era where the war was going on, and you have these comics that reflect that. I'll be honest, I'm not too familiar with the early ones because we're talking about thousands and thousands of issues between the two. So I've not read every issue, but there's some errors that I'm more familiar than others.
It looks like the artwork is that of the 60s TV show. If you look at the Batman on top.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of the artwork, a lot of the characterization they got right from the comics, because this is how Batman was acting, especially in the older comics.
Okay. Up. There's the original.
First appearance.
Have you ever seen a comic for 10 cents anymore?
No, not that I know of.
10 cents. Okay. All right. Let's jump just a little bit out of comics and go into, you had mentioned your podcast talked about your favorite Batmans. And
Yes.
As you can see, their names are below. I think the newest Batman is, what's his name? I didn't think he was a great choice either. After Ben Affleck, it was, or is, the guy from Twilight. I can't think of his name right now. Is going to be the new Batman in the new movie series. Yeah. So, any of these Batman stand out for you?
Yeah, quite a few do. Of course, the first two I'm not real familiar with. I haven't seen.
The first one was the silent era. This one was the first sound Batman.
Right. Adam West, of course, Batman 66. I wasn't alive when the original came on, but reruns of that. That's classic, kind of like spooky Batman from the Golden Age type of thing.
Yeah, and the funny thing is they didn't take themselves seriously. I mean, they had the Bat mirror and the Bat toothbrush and the Bat computer and the Bat.
Oh, yeah. Great.
It was hysterical. And everybody in Hollywood, celebrity-wise, wanted to be on that show and be a villain. And
the big thing about that show is it was fun. It was fun. You know what I'm saying?
From Neil Hefti's score to the fact that every time somebody punched somebody, an animated pow or kaboom or whatever would show up. Even the film they did.
It wasn't violent or anything like that.
Well, I wouldn't say it wasn't violent, but they made it light.
You didn't see characters connecting with the punches.
Right. Now I liked Michael Keaton when he came out and did his two. I liked what he did with it.
Yes, I was graduating from high school that year that it came out. I was very excited for this movie. That probably just ramped up my excitement for the Batman character, because it's like Batman in a movie. We haven't had Batman in a movie, in a live action movie, and I was very excited. Well, and I don't know how many times I saw it in the theater, but it was a bunch.
The first two were serials, so they were only seen in the movie theaters. Batman with Adam West, kind of launched it on TV, but it was definitely Tim Burton and Michael Keaton that launched it. The only disappointment for me in his film was the Batmobile. It was kind of not practical, I guess is the best word.
It looked like something souped up new spaceship almost,
Yeah, but wasn't it like a one-person kind of thing? And compared to George Barris's, which was the two-seater, I love the whole parachute thing when it had to turn around.
You never really saw the Batmobiles like that when they came into that first Batman movie. You didn't see them in the comics like that. They were different. They were more practical, as you were saying.
Yeah, because I don't. Did the comics carry over that type of Batmobile, or they stuck with a functional car?
It's mostly like functional. Sometimes it'll be a flying car, but it depends what the artist depicted. And usually they let it up to the artist to
And it's funny is you jump ahead 3 Batmans, into the future with Christopher Bale's version, and his was a tank. It wasn't even a car anymore. So
yes. I think that was a more realistic, version. If you think of, what he had, the tank made a lot of sense.
I don't. Again, it's not a practical thing. If he's going to run around being a vigilante, saving people in a city, it's a little hard to round a corner chasing somebody with a tank.
Well, you know that tank turned into a bat pod motorcycle.
Yeah, but then why not just go out on the motorcycle? Why waste that machinery? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I wasn't a big fan of the Christian Bale series of films. Definitely was not a big fan of Ben Affleck. However, I did like, after Michael Keaton left the role, I did like Val Kilmer's version, not so much George Clooney's. Where do you stand on those guys?
After, the Michael Keaton versions, so when Tim Burton left after the first two movies, it was Batman Returns. Joel Schumacher took over. It was Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. And basically, they kind of went in the direction of, let's create this more like Batman 66. Now, you can see that totally in the Batman and Robin because it was totally like very spoofy.
And colorful.
Yes. But I didn't mind Val Kilmer. I didn't have a problem with him. The George Clooney, that whole movie was just ridiculous, the Batman and Robin movie. So
yeah, I mean, and the villain in that one was Arnold Schwarzenegger. I did like the casting of Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face and what's his name, Jim Carrey as the Riddler. That was fun.
Yeah.
That. I think they did a good job there. But the future with whatever his name is from Twilight, I don't know. We'll see. All right. Number one nemesis of Batman is the Joker. And how do you feel about the Lego version, the Lego Batman movies?
I thought it was okay. It's not something that's up my alley.
Okay. I thought they were hysterical. I thought the parodies and the whole Will Arnett playing the voice of Batman.
But it's not something that I personally didn't resonate with me as much.
Okay. Who's your favorite Joker? And Cesar Romero isn't there, so.
No, that's a tough one because Jack Nicholson was great. And it's a tough one. I almost want to go with Jack Nicholson just because he has like the classic, 80s look. And the new Joker movie, I have some strong opinions about the new Joker movie.
Joaquin?
Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix. It didn't feel like it was necessarily the Joker that we know from the comics. It's like a Joker from Elseworlds because Bruce Wayne was just a little kid in the movie. It wasn't the actual Joker to me. It was like one of those one and done stories, but it was good.
Yeah, but there's the Oscar-winning performance of from the Dark Knight series Joker. Why can't I think of his name right now?
Ledger.
Heath Ledger. To me, it was amazing, and I think you could have taken Batman out of that movie and just had him in it, and it would have been just as good, if not better, a movie.
Yes, I would have liked to see him in a Joker movie. The biggest, I guess, complaint that I had about the Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix was it didn't feel like a Joker movie. It felt like you could have put another name to that character and it would have been okay. You didn't
Hannibal Lecter.
Right. Whoever.
Yeah. Okay. How do you feel about the new show? And in fact, I think she's left the job and they've recast it.
I enjoyed the show. It was a different version. I enjoyed it. It's going to be
in the comics.
She is in the comics, and she's been in the and I'm just guessing, early to mid 2000. She's been in the comics most recently, but she was in the comics way back then. Kathy Kane.
Wow.
And Batman's cousin. But in the new season 2, they replaced her character, and they're having a new character completely. It's not going to be the Kane character. It's something completely different. So,
But calling it Batwoman?
yes, it's Batwoman.
Okay. You were mentioning before we started recording this in our little chit chat about how Batman never, or one of his things was not carrying a gun. When I saw this one, I thought, uh-oh, what's this about?
It's kind of an interesting story. He has a gun that was Joe Chill's gun. Joe Chill being the guy that killed his parents. It's kind of a very odd story. There are a handful of, you know, examples of Batman, using a gun. There was Batman the Cult, where he used a gun with rubber bullets.
This image here, he looks pretty beat up. Even his cowl is ripped and so on.
Yes, yep. It's not year one. Batman year one gets all, because it was Frank Miller that wrote it, that gets all the acclaim. Batman year two, in my opinion, it has some great, creators on it. It was just okay. It's not one of those that are fondly remembered.
Okay. Ooh, let's talk about Yvonne Craig. This is the 1960s version of Batgirl.
Batgirl, love Batgirl. Who didn't like Batgirl? Seriously.
I mean, leather suit. Those. Look at her spiked heels. I've interviewed her a long time ago, and one of the things she said, she hated wearing the costume. It was completely hot and uncomfortable, and
uncomfortable. Yeah, I can imagine that.
And that wig was built into her cowl, so that wasn't any fun, she said. So, but it looked darn good, if you ask me. So,
yeah.
There's her comic. Is she as popular as Batman, or?
She definitely isn't as popular a Batman. I enjoy the character. And Batgirl has been, who this is Barbara Gordon, has been through character changes over the years.
Yeah,
because there was a story in the mid 80s called The Killing Joke. And she actually was shot and that paralyzed.
Oh, wow.
So she actually couldn't be Batgirl anymore, and she was in a wheelchair. So she became Oracle, which she had computer skills, and she helped out Batman and other heroes. And then when they revamped the DC universe in the early 2010s, they brought her back, that she miraculously healed from the back injury, and she was Batgirl again.
Right. I heard talk that they were going to do a actual Batgirl movie, but I think it all fell to the wayside. I'd love to see it, because I was worried about the redoing of Wonder Woman, and they did that excellently. As far as I'm concerned, the DC world on the movie side, not that great, but they did Wonder Woman really well. So
they have so many toys to play with.
Yeah.
As far as movies goes, they're just not utilizing. I mean, if you think about it, yes, in the last 20 years, we've had 3 Batman movies and 2 other movies with Batman in it. We've had 2 Superman movies. They're the 2 biggest characters, and we're about to have 2 Wonder Woman movies. But their biggest characters, they haven't really utilized the way that they should utilize them, if you think about it. If you look at Marvel, for instance, and what they've done with Spider-Man, they have, 2, 4, through 7 Spider-Man movies basically in the last 20-some years. I mean, they really...
and that's mainly because the franchise was given to someone else to reboot or whatever. But in my opinion, I think what happened is, where Marvel gave origin stories to everybody and then brought them together, for some reason, DC just said, okay, let's put everybody in one movie and try and make a story that makes sense, and then just concentrate on special effects. And it was not, until Wonder Woman, I was like, okay.
I have to tell you, I did enjoy Batman versus Superman,
Oh, not
the
me.
Ultimate Edition. I did enjoy that one. I
No.
see people's opinion on it, how they could maybe not like it as much. I don't like the fact that Batman was older in those movies,
I
but they were taking Batman from the Dark Knight Returns, a Frank Miller story from the 80s, where he was an older Batman. And I can see where they're going, but I'm actually excited about a younger Batman and things that we might see in the movie, because there's been some things that I really want to see in the movies that we really haven't seen, uh, at least lately. Because the Christian Bale movies had a bat cave that was just a cave. It didn't have anything in it. And, we did see in those, and as you got up here, you got Michael Keaton.
oh
They had a bat cave. It even had a
well, I
sign.
noticed. Did you notice the cowls? How different the cowls are?
Yeah.
It looks like
Mike,
starting with Val Kilmer, they're wearing eyeliner or black eye makeup.
yeah.
Michael Keaton didn't. It looks like. So I don't
And
know.
Michael Keaton's coming back to play Batman.
He is. Where?
Yes.
What?
In the Flash movie.
Really? And now,
Yes.
Flash movie with the guy from the series?
No, the Flash movie with the guy from the Justice League movie.
Oh, really? Bummer. I find the TV much more interesting than the film. And here's a classic for me. I mean, I remember growing up watching these two and
Yep.
wanting to be Batman. And, clearly it was colorful. It was, it was bright. And again, Neil Hefti's music. I mean, how could you forget that? Now let's jump to the silent era and look at that outfit. Basically tights, a pair of swim trunks, and I have no idea what his belt is, but
Ability belt.
yeah, but what's it made of?
I can't tell.
Yeah, he's got the fringe on the arms for the gloves, and the cowl.
Right.
The cowl kind of makes him look like a hawk.
Yeah, it's different. It's like a homemade Halloween costume.
All right, yeah, I believe this is George Clooney, right? Yeah.
They're ice versions
His,
of their.
you know what his big claim to fame about the costume is, right?
I believe it's the bat nipples.
Bat nipples and a bat butt. Apparently they, beefed him up there, and then for some reason, apparently Batman needed to have nipples on his costume. So it was kind of weird. Yeah, no, I guess they painted. That's all painted, the silvery.
I would guess it's not.
Ooh, now there's Batman. That's the Batman I remember. Both in
Yeah.
comics.
Looks like Lee. I could be wrong, but I think that's Jim Lee, who actually is one of the publishers of DC Comics now. So
Yeah,
doesn't.
that's just amazing.
Yeah, that it's amazing. He's very good.
That's Batman. Okay, is that the last one? Okay, there they are again. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of. I did like Brandon Roth. Not a big fan of Henry Cavill as far as Superman. Yeah, pretty much that's yeah. And then we got Ben Affleck up there. Yeah, the cowls are so different now that I look at them side to side.
Yep. Well, in the last two versions of Batman, you could actually move your head back and forth, but in the first three, Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, they made it where you couldn't move the head. The head wasn't really movable.
Yeah. It's like you had a stiff neck. It's like, okay, Robin, where are you? I can't see you. Oh, there we go. You sent this one. What is this here?
That's actually one of the black and white figures that they recently released of different artist renditions in a black and white. This is a little mini figure that I have. And actually, John Romita Jr., a lot of people give him a hard time with his art, but I'm one that's always been a fan of his art. So that's just one of
Now,
that I have.
by minifigure, how tall are we talking?
We're talking like 4 or 5 inches.
Oh, okay. Looks bigger. I mean, uh-oh. Look at all the Batmans.
Here, that's how big it is.
That's him. Wow. Very cool. Very cool. So do you collect all the toys and the memorabilia as well?
No, I'm not a huge toy collector. Most of them I collect little Funko Pops
Oh,
whenever I see them, but I'm not a huge toy collector. I even got this little scene from Batman Begins,
oh, wow.
the movie, Colonel and he has Commissioner Gordon. If you can see it, has a Joker card in his hand.
Wow. Now, when did that come out?
I got this around Christmas, so I think it's come out in the last year.
That's nice. I never knew they had light-up versions or versions with lights.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that one.
Okay, so clearly Batman is your DC favorite. Do you have a Marvel favorite superhero?
I do. I have several, actually. The Incredible Hulk, Blade. I enjoy Blade. The Blade movies were pretty good, at least the first couple. The Uncanny X-Men, I enjoyed. Not necessarily what's coming out today, but like the 80s and 90s X-Men I really enjoyed. So yeah, Marvel's another that I like. Ghost Rider.
So I noticed you haven't mentioned any of the, well, except for the Hulk, like the Avengers, the Iron Man, Captain America, that group.
I read all that, especially in the 80s and 90s. The Captain, I had runs of Captain America, of Iron Man, not so much Thor. Thor didn't really pique my interest, and depending who wrote him, they kind of made his English kind of rough. And I wanted comics to be something fun and not something I had to cipher with the ye's and sort of thing. It probably was just, a teenager thinking that I thumbed through it and thinking, this is going to be hard to read, but it was probably just.
Okay, so for somebody who wants to get into the Batman comic world, where would you suggest they start? The modern current issues, or do the research of the older issues, or what?
Yeah, I would probably start, and all these issues are basically collected. I would start with Batman Year One.
Really?
Yes, because that's
Detective
going to
series?
No, not the Detective series. It was a series that came out in the late 80s. It was in the Batman series proper. It was done by Frank Miller, and it just had a reinvention. It's really complicated to say what happened because they kind of rebooted DC but didn't renumber it in the late 80s with this miniseries called Crisis of Infinite Earths. There were Infinite Earths, and then it kind of got revamped into One Earth, and they tried to make most of the characters more modern.
Okay.
So Batman, they came out with Year One not too long after that, and that really, they took some elements from that and put it in Batman Begins and different things, but that was probably the one that I would recommend.
Okay. I mean, a lot of people either really like or really don't like the Dark Knight series. Is that something you would not suggest starting there? Because Batman's a really kind of, dark.
Okay. Dark Knight series meaning what exactly?
Well, there's a whole series of where, Batman is a vigilante kind of, my interpretation is, more of, I don't want to say, I don't know how to say it, because he's technically a good guy, but he does things, above and beyond the law more.
Yeah.
Whereas the traditional Batman, or the Batman outside of the Dark Knight series, follows the rules of the road and the police.
Dark Knight Returns series, or
I don't know. You tell me. I'm not the Batman person.
I only know of one Dark Knight series, and that came out in 2011 and had like 30 issues. That's the only Dark Knight, and the Dark Knight Returns.
So
I don't.
that's where the movies are based on, right? The Christian Bale movies.
They're based on Batman. It's not
Really? I
Yeah.
I thought they took that comic book element out from that series of comics, the Dark Knight series. Hence the title, The Dark Knight, when the first one came out.
The Dark Knight Returns was a Frank Miller book in the 80s that Batman was older, like in his 50s and 60s or something like that, and he was still Batman, and he was a lot darker and different things. But they took elements out of different Batman comics, but I wouldn't say that they took every Dark Knight Rises, they took elements out of the Dark Knight Returns. But
Okay. Cool. So quickly back to your podcast. You have a YouTube channel as well, right? And that's you put your podcast there as well?
I just recently started to put the audio versions on there as of we're at episode 51, and I was putting the audio versions, but from this point on, after this week, we're just gonna have our live streams on there.
Oh.
So the live streams of for instance, this past Monday we did our first live stream, and we did Batman issue 95, Detective Comics 1024. We're into the thousands, so you see it started at 27 right here. Now we're 1000. We got our anniversary issue coming up, 1,000 issues, 1027 that's coming up before too long.
Wow.
As I said, we're topic of the week, but the other segment I didn't mention is we like to try to have a little fun on the show. And the one segment that I do, it's called Stump the Co-Host.
Yeah.
Stump the Co-Host, I try to stump my co-host with different questions. And if he wins, he gets cash and prizes. And it's made up cash and prizes just to be fun, like a Joker coin or a Two-Face coin, or
Now, are the questions trivia, or what are they?
Trivia. It's multiple choice, so and it's a topic, and I'll give 2 questions, multiple choice, and it's really obscure type of stuff that.
Now, because the first show is live, does anybody get to interact with you, or is it just after the fact?
Anybody that tunes in can ask us questions, and we had one person asked us about 4 questions, and we went through certain segments. We stopped and then answered their questions. So we would like it to be interactive with the fans or people watching. That would be a lot of fun.
Very cool. So, I mean, I assume that's kind of eventually you want to take it there, when obviously the more you promote the program.
I have some ideas for the stream, because I'm going to make a little video intro. When I do the audio podcast, I have little quotes from the movies, from the TV show, that sort of thing, that I put between the segments. And I'm actually going to put that sort of thing in the live stream. So between the segments, you'll see, like, for instance, if it's a book, I'll pop that book up and it'll have a little audio with it for a few seconds and that sort of thing. I want to make it
Very cool.
more entertaining, on the live stream side. Than I can edit the audio to put whatever I want in, but the live stream, you sort of have to do things
ready. Yeah, have it ready. I'm curious, what software do you use for your editing?
I use Audacity.
Audacity, okay. Yeah, because I've talked to several podcast people, and it's like everyone uses different software for different things. And with this pandemic going on, everyone's getting real creative with their podcasts, their YouTube channels, their everything. And Zoom. Oh my God, I love Zoom. Obviously, we wouldn't be talking. So
Actually, stream Stream what? Stream something. Of course, it's escaping me. Stream
Yeah, the
Yard.
funny, the Geek Authority used to have a monthly gaming, and we used to set cameras up, and you could watch us play board games because that's what we do, and learn how to play and stuff. And now that we can't meet up, we're like, okay, now what do we do? So, and I said, you know what? I'm going to talk to people. But anyway, Bill, I'm sorry.
I just got a mixer this week, or I guess it was last week. I got a mixer with a soundboard. So I was saying I can play things between the segments. Is it okay if I would just play you an example?
Sure.
Okay. An example. Hopefully you can hear this.
We have 1 moment to lose.
That's just an example. Or here's another.
Deal. Let's go.
Turbines of speed. Now, if you play Neil Hefty's theme, I'm just going to start crying.
I don't have that one. I have a few loaded up on here. But
Are those just MP3 files, or what are they?
Yeah, MP3 files. And I do have...
How are you getting them? Are you pulling them off the show?
I basically recorded those clips off of clips from YouTube and just record them with Audacity, and then I save it as a MP3. But I have an original song for intro.
Oh.
That somebody sang. It's original. It's not taken from a TV show or anything.
Do we get a snippet of it?
Yeah. It has a little bit in front of it, so I'll start to play it, and when it actually gets on.
Now, this is the intro to the podcast?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
A few clips.
You even sound like a bad guy.
I swear I am a good guy.
From different...
Okay, Mr. Batman.
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 That's what I said, Batman.
No, you're saying Batman.
A TV show.
Listen, I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
I want you to tell all your friends about me.
And like the Keaton.
I'm Batman.
This is the Bat Pod.
Song.
Grab your bat microphone, it's time to start the show. Like a little house of mystery is starting to grow. Let there be no debate, it's about to begin. You like Bruce Wayne, quick like Tim Drake, fierce like Damien. Grab your
Very cool. Is that you?
No, it is not. I'm not that talented.
Like the Dark Knight detective, they've got some perspective. They're a pure crime-fighting collective. It's the Bat
Pod. Very cool. It's the Bat Pod. Very cool. Wow. Well, Bill, I want to appreciate your time and thank you for coming on board and talking to us about Batman. I'm sure I learned a lot, and I had a few questions for you that I wanted to ask about, and it's always good to see that the DC world is alive and well, and during this pandemic, it's a good time to check out the comics. Find them and get them, and then check out your podcast. And how do people find out about it? I mean, I'll put links in the video here, but what's the best way for them to find out your podcast schedule?
Well, we are on our website, and we're on a network with a bunch of other podcasts. We're at nerdylegion.com/badpod, and all our episodes are on there. We got 50 episodes on there so far, 51 to be coming out later this week. And we're on and all our links are there to iTunes, the Google Play, Stitcher, all the streaming.
Okay. So everybody needs to go to your website, and the links are all there.
The links are all there. It even has our YouTube there also.
Perfect.
Just to Apple Podcasts and search for the Bat Pod or Batman, and we'll pop up.
Nice. Okay, so any final words to Batman fans out there?
Not necessarily. Keep on reading. The books have been good. It's some new and exciting stuff that's happening right now. We got a Batman movie coming. What's more exciting than that?
Yeah, hopefully it's got a good script and a good story. Anyway, well, again, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate the time and the information as well, and love your little figures. And I might go look for that Commissioner Gordon and Batman one. Now that I know it lights up, I'm a big fan of the pops as well. I've got a couple Superman, but I don't have any Batman. So,
Thank
you so much.
No problem. And I just want to thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate you helping me get the word of my show out there, because I do
Absolutely. You know, like, share the whole thing too. And if you haven't subscribed to the Geek Authority's YouTube channel, one of the buttons somewhere showing up on here, as well as I've got the two other shows, the Unboxing the Geek Authority, where I actually open up new stuff from companies. I see it for the first time, you see it for the first time. The reaction that I give is, "Whoa." And then, of course, I have the Geek Authority show, where I'm talking to people like Bill and actors, movie producers, all kinds of stuff. Hopefully you'll tune in and watch those too. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you once again, Bill. And everyone, I don't know, what's a good bat phrase to close with? Turbines to pop.
I'll just give you my phrase that I do on the podcast. How about that?
Okay.
Until next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. We will see you later.
Nice. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.